Welcome back to Spoiler Country. I'm Regan. That's Mr. Horsley.
Hey,
and
wait,
today...
dude, this isn't Spoiler Country, man. This ain't
What?
Spoiler Country. No. We're on Misery Point Radio today, man.
Dude, the colors of these walls are different.
They are. They're not our colors.
Yeah. And the ball sack in the sky is hanging real low.
And it's kind of furry, but, whatever.
Well, welcome back to Misery Point Radio.
Welcome back, nerds! Thanks for joining me again on Misery Point Radio. I don't know about you, but I, for one, am enjoying the little bit of extra time I've been given in the day to bring you even more content, to bring you the mind-numbing entertainment that you crave to get through your dreary lives, and to brighten what's left of your final days on this earth with even bigger piles of awesomeness. No need to thank me, it's what I do for free. So feel free to send me your contaminated money and I'll put it to good use. I promise. Anywho, today's show is kind of a special one for me. Today's guests, Kenric, Regan, and John Horsley, have been with me since I started this insane journey into podcasting and internet radio. Since the very beginning, since day one, they've been unwavering in their support for this show, as well as my previous show, On the Edge, and vice versa. I'm a huge fan of their show, Spoiler Country, which is literally piles of pop culture awesomeness. So much content, I can't even keep up. I just can't wrap my head around how much stuff they have. They talk about everything. Comics, movies, TV, games, you name it. A veritable cornucopia of nerdtastic nourishment with super badass guests. And they're also just really good friends. And sometimes you just need to bullshit with your friends and have a random conversation. Go off on tangents and just catch up on life. And that's what today's episode is really all about. This is more of a casual conversation than an interview, but trust me, there's plenty of stuff you'll learn about what's going on with Spoiler Country, as well as their other projects, and the creation of the all-encompassing Spoilerverse. It's killer, I promise. So put down that copy of Radioactive Man #1, pull up your underoos, and get on board that great space coaster for a nonsensical journey through Randomland. Check this out. Here we go. Johnny Kenric, welcome back to the show, guys.
Hey.
Yeah, thanks for having us back, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, took me long enough, right?
It really did. I mean, it's been...
Well, it's a two-way road.
Well, don't say that. It's all his fault, not ours.
Yeah.
We're the good ones here. We're the guests.
I haven't heard Mike's sexy voice since Hector was a pup.
My dulcet tones. Yeah, it is crazy. So we were kind of talking off the air that, we all kind of started around the same time. It's been roughly 3 years ago, and it's crazy to see kind of what you guys have done, and then obviously I'm running a different show now. But yeah. It's been a pretty crazy journey, and we were talking about how when we all first got kind of started doing this, everybody was so gung-ho, and there was just so many groups out there, and everybody was super engaging and excited, and then all of a sudden you just see people start drifting away. This guy is dropping off the planet. Yeah. This guy is going off into fucking left field, off the deep end. So it's pretty crazy. So
we're still going strong.
Yeah, no, you guys are killing it, and there's a lot of cool stuff that you guys have been working on. But I guess I wanted to ask you, first and foremost, with all the crazy stuff going on in the world with COVID and everything like that, what are you guys personally doing at home? I mean, you guys both work from home, I'm pretty sure, but what else are you occupying your time with?
Well, work, like you said, a lot of interviews. I don't know how many. I feel like we're doing an interview almost every day.
Yeah.
Pretty much every day, yeah.
Yeah, and then just... John and I talk every day, whether we're doing something on the podcast or not. But we talk every day, regardless about the podcast, even though I just said that, but it happens. And we have so many plans, not just for the podcast itself, but also for the network, and, quote unquote network. We don't like calling it a network. I think that sounds too stuffy, you know?
Sure.
Because we like to have more fun with it.
It's a collective.
It's a collective. Yeah, that sounds even worse.
Yeah, we're all like a bunch
That
of
sounds
fucking podcast
pretentious.
boards, right?
Right? We are the collective.
But yeah,
come join us.
we
in
have a
Spoilerverse.
lot of. What's that?
I said we are the collective. Come join the Spoilerverse.
Oh my god!
Resistance is futile. So you know,
That's right.
it's
Resistance is
true. I
futile.
mean, you guys started out really Spoiler Country as more or less almost exclusively comic books or comic related or that kind of industry related. And over the course of the last couple of years, we've really seen your show grow into more than just comics. I mean, we've talked, you know, video
Pop
games,
culture.
movie industry people, TV people. It's really just grown so many appendages like a big Cthulhu that ironically, right? So you see what I did there?
Yeah, I love it.
Tell everybody what the Cthulhu reference is.
So we've actually been using that tagline since like pretty much day one.
And what is that
Like,
tagline?
the tagline is, go ahead, Kenric.
In oceans of podcasts,
We are Cthulhu.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we came up with that together. We worked on
Yeah.
it, and I was like, I really like Cthulhu, and I was reading a bunch of books that had Cthulhu mythos strung in, you know. And I'm a big Hellboy fan and a big Sandman Slim fan, and I like H.P. Lovecraft, you know, even though he's a massive racist, which is kind of weird to learn about him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, his work is so drastic and everything. And Johnny and I were just kind of flinging things back and forth. And I really can't remember who even said what part first, you know?
Well, it started off
And
with the inner world, you know, the inner world thing, then it became
Yeah.
yeah.
And it just kept morphing. And then we're like, I think we've used it since day one, haven't we?
Damn near, yeah, damn near.
Yeah. And we just now started really using it all the time. Like we wanted to make little baby Cthulhu's, stuffed animals with little Spoiler Country t-shirts on them.
Yeah.
You know, and we just haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, we were talking with Roberto Hayos from Throwaway about making those too.
Oh,
We did.
I think merch.
What?
You guys need some more merch.
We don't have
some merch.
Yeah, we have a merch.
Merch.
We have a t-shirt.
Yeah, and I'm the only one that's bought one.
If we don't promote it, like we have so many ideas for cool shirts and cool ideas. We just haven't done it. I mean, because a lot of like the graphic design and like that aspect of stuff is me, right? Is I do all of that stuff, and I've never been a person to focus on the merch side stuff. Even when I was doing my webcomic stuff or my band stuff, I never focused on the merch. I always just focused on the creation of it, which is just backwards ass way of trying to make money out of something. But I just never did. And Kenric has all these ideas like, hey, this would be a cool t-shirt. Like the one t-shirt we sold that Kenric has is an idea he had that I threw together real quick, and then he went and bought it off of TeePublic. And really,
I wear it all the time.
Yeah, you wore it yesterday. I have the
I'm wearing
ideas.
it right now.
I have the ideas like put onto the graphics made to upload to the shirts. I just have to go log in and do it, and it's. I will self-admit that I'm really
It's
bad.
literally
about,
5 minutes of work.
yeah. And I'm
Something that takes him 20 hours, he jumps all in. Something that takes him 5 minutes, I don't want to do it right now. You could do it
So
on
true.
your phone.
so true.
I understand too, because it's really easy to get distracted on. I call it the ooh, a piece of candy syndrome. Like you're in the middle of something, and then you get this idea. You're like, ooh, a piece of candy, and you fucking go off in that direction, and then you start that, and then you're like, fuck it, I just completely lost the zone that I was in. I've got so many projects that have been dropped. I've probably got a half a dozen episodes like halfway recorded that I just never finished. And just gave up on them in the middle of ideas or whatever.
We have a whole series that we had planned out for the CW Arrowverse, and this was like we have one episode. We have the one episode we recorded around Arrow was recorded like 2 years ago, and we've never gone back to it. We didn't do any of the other shows because we were going to do Supergirl, Flash, and you know what I mean, and do it like in a week. Release episodes about each show, but we only have the one from Arrow. Now it's like 2 years old, and Johnny's like, "Well, let's just cut in and talk about things that happen." I'm like, "Oh my god, it seems like so much work."
That could be a Patreon content. Like, check out all this unreleased shit we have.
Patreon. We're so terrible about Patreon. Like,
Yeah,
we have
we
it there,
stopped
but-
promoting it.
Fuck, man, it's so hard to remember to go do it because like. I don't know. I really wish we had someone who just managed all that shit for us. I mean, we've got a lot of people working with us now at the Spoilerverse, but like the part of like Patreon and merchandise, I'm like, I want somebody else to handle all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's tough because right now we're lucky. Like, I
We're
don't know
lucky.
what happened, Mike. It's like we were just trolling along. We started getting really serious again. Well, we were always serious about it, but we had that little bit of a lull for a couple months last year. And then we came out of it like refreshed and like ready just to kill it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we just started working really hard on it. And we just started making some inroads. And all of a sudden, you know, I felt really good about it. So I wrote out a post on Facebook, and all of a sudden we got, and I had never shared my podcast on my personal page
Yeah.
because I just didn't want to do that. I felt like it would be like, I used to get excited. We're like, oh, we got new people following us. Oh, it's a friend of Johnny's, you know? And it just felt like, not that I didn't appreciate it. Not that not that they don't interact or anything like that. It's just, it doesn't feel as authentic, you know?
Yeah.
It feels weird. You know what I mean? I want to earn it. I want people to discover us and then go, oh, these guys really love what they're doing and they're having a good time. And I love, and I love the content. And I just want it to be that way, you know? It's just a weirdo about it. And I just kind of felt like we're getting there in a lot of ways. And we're having these huge days with numbers, and it just felt really good. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to put this out there because I feel really good about it. And I did. And then literally the next day, Jeff like cued me. Q is it? He IM'd me on Facebook, and he said, "Hey man, I actually have a lot of contacts in the comic book world. I'd love to get you guys some interviews."
Yeah, so we're talking about Jeff Haas, who more or less has been pretty fucking crucial in that element, and I can look back and go see your episodes before Jeff came along and then after Jeff came along, and we're really talking about kind of what we were talking about just a second ago, which is how many episodes you guys record, how many you have in the hopper, and you're just getting lined up with super badass people to talk to on a daily basis at this point.
Yeah, I got Jeff an account. See, Jeff is really good at being I don't want to say the word annoying.
He's relentless.
He's relentless. That's a perfect word for it. He's got a lot of commitment. And so once he starts get somebody, the PR people have to literally tell him no. You know, because he won't stop until he gets some kind of answer out of them.
And then I hooked him up. No, yeah.
Yeah, and then I hooked him up, and then I paid for I should say Johnny and I paid for a IMDb Pro account. So now he gets access to all the publicists and managers of all these different people.
Ah, that's the secret sauce.
Yeah, so he goes in there and he starts just going off and just, emails everybody. Doesn't care. Who do you want? Okay, I'm going to go for him.
Yeah.
And how many shows? So today is April 17th, 2020. How many shows do we have ready to go? And what's the last date right now, Johnny?
Oh God. So I did math on it yesterday. We have scheduled out 4 episodes a week, plus some on the weekends coming up. But we have shows scheduled out till June 18th at 4 a week with some extras in the weekend. And there's still 4 more that have been recorded since I did that math the other day that needed to be put into that. Plus we've got 2 more being recorded tomorrow, 1 on Sunday, and then I think 7 more being recorded next week.
Yeah, we literally have to tell people when they want to come on, like, okay, well, your episode's not going to come out for 2 months. Because we have all this.
I am too retarded to even fathom those numbers. That's just absolutely crazy. So, but obviously people do it. They want to come on. Your content is awesome. Like I said, we've branched out into several different areas of expertise now. Let's talk about, let's just throw out a few of the guests that you've had on recently. I know Emily Swallows came on, the Mandalorian armor. Yeah, that was a really cool episode. Who else have you had on recently?
We had John Wesley Shipp just came on, who was the OG Flash from 1990, and of course he's playing Henry Allen and Jay Garrick in the new Flash.
Yep.
He was amazing. I mean, I feel like that was our best interview we've done yet.
I agree. I think that is overall our best quality interview we've done.
Meaning as far as it just was a good conversation, or the line of questions was good, or the guest was super engaging, all of it?
All 3.
All of it.
All 3.
All of it. Everything just fell together. So when I started doing the interviews, I I'm a chatterbox, as you both know.
Huh?
You know, I can talk forever.
What?
What? So at the beginning, when Johnny and I started the podcast, we just did a lot of stuff between him and I, right? And we came up with, you know,
Topics, and
ideas and
tangents.
and, you know, yeah. And then once we started getting some interviews, I kind of got the bug when we did Mike Grell, which was our 3rd episode, which was crazy. And I got to sit down with him, and Johnny was like, no, you do the interview. I'll record. Don't even worry about it. Because we only had enough room for one person to sit down with him.
Yeah, that was at Comic-Con, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And it wasn't a great interview because the sound was bad. We're in the middle of the floor, you know, all that kind of stuff. But we had a good time, and it's fucking Mike Grell.
It's not bad for like our second week of podcasting, all right?
Right. Exactly. Well, to be fair, I kind of had a secret sauce in my pocket because Johnny had been doing podcasting since 2009 with Y2CL Radio.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not like he was coming in fresh or, you know.
It's not like you guys were going in dry.
Right. Hey-o. But at the
Nice
beginning,
callback.
I would always just kind of wing it with the guests, you know? Like, I know I can talk to just about anybody, so I'm just going to start talking, and we'll find common ground, and we'll and it worked for the most part. And editing is a magical thing because you wouldn't hear the pauses and the, you know, that kind of stuff. But I don't know, once Jeff came on and Casey came on, and we started to have a lot more interviews, and we've become more interview-centric than we have topic-centric, you know, topical. I said, you know, I got to up this. You know, I can't sit here and wing it with people and then be taken seriously and then get the kind of guests that we're hoping to get, you know? And I don't know, sometime last year, I just said, you know what? I'm going to really, really dig in. And then I'm just going to start really doing a lot of research on these people and spend hours, not 20 minutes before the episode or before the interview, but hours, you know, and find things and find nuggets that they're not going to be used to hearing or asking about, going through, you know, hours of interviews if I can find them, you know, as much as I can. And I'll listen to the interviews, and I'll skip around interviews as well, finding interesting topics and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, like with John Wesley Shipp, I listened to like 45 different interviews and then went through all of, you know, and then read Wikipedia and then read a bunch of other random websites that I had things about. And I just found some nuggets of stuff. And the one thing that I found was all the interviews are always asking about Flash, which is great, right? That's what gets him the interviews, what people want to know about a lot of times. But when you go to YouTube and you put his name in and you see 100 interviews all around the Flash, well, how much information are you going to get from that?
Yeah, well, what's out there that hasn't already been put out there? What could you possibly add new to that serial?
Exactly. So and then I found a little thing, and he just happened to mention on a random interview that his house got shot at when he was a teenager. And then I was like, oh, that piqued my interest. So then I started putting his name in and finding things about that particular stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he came on, that's just about the first thing I asked him. And he was so like open to talk about it because no one ever asked him about it, even though he's opened it before. And the interviewers are so, they're not inept, right? They're just so focused on what they like.
Yeah. Well, you got
so
a limited window of time, and you know that people are expecting to hear at least some little fucking nugget of something that they're familiar with.
Right. So I started with that, and he just really opened up, and he made my whole day because at the end of the interview, he said, "Wow, you really know what you're doing. I've never expected questions like that. And when you asked me about church and Wake Forest, you just opened me completely up, and then I just couldn't stop talking."
Yeah.
And I was like, that's exactly what I wanted.
It's awesome that you mentioned that.
It's really good.
Because that's kind of my formula. I mean, I take a long time between episodes because I do spend a lot of time doing, you know, research and homework, and as I refer to it as social media stalking, and, you know, kind of really, because you want to have a good conversation with people, and especially if they don't know you. I mean, they have no fucking incentive to talk to you and be open about shit. I mean, they're expecting a lot of times to just kind of go through the motions. And then when you can ask them something that's maybe a little bit more personal or something that's not put out there on any large scale basis, it's definitely it endears them to you, I think, a little bit more. And it also just kind of makes for a really fun, interesting conversation when you can surprise somebody with something and you get that, holy fuck, I didn't know we were going to go down that road. That's really cool.
Well, we had the same type of reaction with Osric Chow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Osric Chow plays Kevin Tran on Supernatural. He was he's playing what's his character's name on Crisis?
Ryan Choi.
Ryan Choi. It's going to be the new Adam. And you know, we had the same type of interview with him where he was like, at the end of the interview, he was like, "Whoa, you guys really did your research." And I live for them to say that. Like, you know what I mean? When they say, "Wow, you really did your research," and you know, I haven't been asked that, or I'm so glad you asked me that. It's like, that makes me feel good. Like, okay, see, these guys, they're appreciating coming on. Then they don't feel like, oh, why did I, you know, I'm just on this, and you know, it's just a standard thing for them.
I love when they say, well, they never said it to me, but I'm sure they say it to you all the time. I'm glad that you researched that Wikipedia page. You know everything's wrong, right?
I only use Wikipedia for like just foundational stuff. Like, you know, where were they born? Where, you know, did they go to, where they went to school maybe?
Yeah.
And then I'll ask them, hey, Wikipedia says this. Is this, you know, is this true?
First conviction was in 1979.
Right.
Well, we've had the same thing with IMDb recently. We had Steve Jablonsky on, who's the composer of Bloodshot and Transformers and stuff. And on his IMDb is him composing the music for some YouTube movie about Luigi. And I was like, hey, I'm going to ask you about this. It's on your IMDb page. And he was like, it's probably something that you probably use something that he composed, but he didn't actually even work on it. But it shows up as work he's done. So, you know, you gotta take the resources you get with a grain of salt and kind of, you know, play it by ear to see what you can get out of them, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Well,
because like when I was doing John Wesley Shipp, they were talking about that he went to high school in Virginia, and then they said one said Wake Forest, and one said that his dad gave the commencement speech for his high school in 1969. It was like, what? It was all over the place.
Yeah. What's going on with fucking retard Mike? What's going on with drinks and comics? Is that still a thing?
It is a thing. We actually just ordered new green screens.
Oh,
yeah.
So that we can do things remotely away from each other, because there's two things. For Johnny and I, it seems like it's easier for us to edit audio when we're separate.
Yeah.
We have more issues being in the same room than we do when we're like this.
Well, it's because your sexual chemistry is so strong. I imagine
too much. It sparks.
There's just too much happening for you guys to be in the same place.
Well, they call me white chocolate, and they call him double stuff. So how can you not get there?
That's all it takes, man.
Wah, wah. So tell everybody what Drinks and Comics is.
Go for it, Johnny.
So Drinks and Comics, yeah, okay, I'll do it. Drinks and Comics is a show that Kenric and I came up with in November of 2018. It's a YouTube show. It's basically like, you know, 10 minutes long or so per episode. And the whole original premise behind it was, even though it's called Drinks and Comics, we never thought to keep it just to comics, right? It was, we make a drink, we have a drink, we talk about the drink we make, and then we talk about a comic or a movie or a TV show or a book or something, or like one of the episodes was talking about Doctor Who, you know? So we do it in a way to just, one, to try new drinks, and two, to incorporate something we both enjoy, which is trying new drinks and that with the pop culture stuff that we love. And we did one season of it. We did 7 episodes, which is, you know, the one season. And then all the stuff Kenric mentioned earlier about, you know, us both getting pulled away in different things. You know, it fell off the wayside, but we actually did record an episode here at my house a couple months ago, but the audio came out like crap, so we have to redo it. So that, but we are planning to do more with that concept, or bring it back for a season 2.
I was actually quite a fan of that concept, because I just thought that was really fun. And number one, it's a reason to drink, which I don't need more of. But number two, it kind of takes what you guys are known for with kind of the whole pop culture thing and puts it into a different element. It's not like sitting down and listening to a podcast where it's super in-depth. It almost kind of reminds me like of when you guys first started and you did your episodes and it was just you two bullshitting and fighting with each other about why Superman sucks, or, you know, whatever. You know
it's funny you bring up that Superman one. That episode gets brought up with us constantly.
Oh yeah, is gold. But that I love what you guys are doing now. I'm a huge. Obviously, you guys are good friends, but that aside, your content is just so awesome. But I do really love listening sometimes to those old episodes. I love to go back and check out old shows of shows that I watch, and the banter that you guys have when you would disagree on shit is fucking priceless. And so the Drinks and Comics doesn't quite get into that realm, but it does kind of make me nostalgic for those times when you guys are just kind of relaxing and bullshitting, and it wasn't quite as intense and go as it is now. So
yeah,
Drinks and Comics, fucking badass. I'm glad to see that it's still a thing. Is that something we'll see again soon?
Yeah, it'll be shortly. I mean, it might probably be like July.
Yeah, okay.
You know, we gotta get the green screens are coming, so that way we can have a nice digital background, and we can do a virtual background now, but it doesn't quite work as well. So once we have the green screens, it'll work nice, because then, like right now, I record by my studio arms clamped into my bedpost, and then I put my laptop and my mixer on my bed, and then I just stand in front.
Really?
And then I have pads up on my bedroom walls to keep the echo down,
which are usually on your knees.
Yeah, I'm usually on my
confirm.
knees. Yeah. Hey-o. But you know, hopefully I'll be purchasing a house here in June, July, so that'll change. But for right now, because I'm just kind of in I'm in transition.
Yeah,
as they say.
Sure. Well, that's that's awesome. That's good.
So
news.
that way we can do this virtual thing, and it'll be awesome. Actually, it'll actually work a lot better.
Yeah,
because we're planning to do more video stuff too. Because the videos are cool. Because I mean, you can do a lot more with video as far as visual aspects, obviously. And I really miss doing Drinks and Comics. Was so much fun to do. You know, because we made that time traveler drink for the Doctor Who episode. That was one, it was freaking delicious, and two, I never would have tried that had it not been for that show. And we have a bunch of ideas of how to bring that concept back and continue it. So that's definitely coming back. I would like to say that season two will be happening this year at some point.
Yeah,
we're kind of up in the air with, should we change the title or should we leave it Drinks and Comics? Because we don't want to pigeonhole just comics. We want to be able to do anything, but maybe it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because Drinks and Comics just sounds so cool.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that we can kind of transition into the next spot that I wanted to talk about with you guys, but maybe as a segue into that, you could do something like Drinks with the Spoilerverse or Drinks in the Spoilerverse or, something like that. Ooh. So, well, speaking of Spoilerverse then, Spoiler Country as a podcast in and of itself, as a show, and all the other concepts you guys started doing, plus the fact that you've really, Johnny, you've had Y2CL and Haphazard Adventures, and you guys each, and you had Kenric, Bitching Through Life, and kind of all your personal stuff you're working on as well. It really started to grow into a whole other beast. I mean, it really did take on various forms, and all of a sudden, now it's not just Spoiler Country. You guys have created a universe that is kind of the center of all things pop culture. There's different podcasts on there, one of which, of course, I'm super stoked to be affiliated with you guys. But, lots of other stuff. So let's talk about the Spoilerverse. What is it? How was it born? Who's a part of it? And let's just dive down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. The Spoilerverse is a collection of different podcasts that have all of them, except for, I think we said, hey, we want you to come on, be a part of this. And you're like, oh, yeah, of course. But a lot of everybody just kind of came to us and says, hey, we really like what you guys are doing. We love the fact that you guys have a website, that you're pumping out articles on top of that. Jay Roach came on. He was part of My Worst Holiday. He decided he didn't want to do a podcast like that anymore, so he stopped, but he wanted to blog. And we're like, dude, you can blog and you can put it on our website and we'll pump it out for you.
And he's a fantastic writer, and he is the cynic. He is the perpetual cynic. And I absolutely love Jay. I just, his tone, when you listen to him talk and then you see the words that he writes, you can imagine his fucking voice piping into your head as you're reading. It's that that well phrased.
He's very much the second coming of American Splendor.
Yeah. Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
And he's a great guy. And he just started pumping out articles for us. And then he started doing some reviews and all that kind of stuff along with his everyday life kind of stuff. And we call it the Roach's Den. And from that was giving us content coming out on the website every day. And then who else came on, Johnny? You tell the rest of it.
Yeah, so Jay came on. Jay was the first one to come on as far as working on the website. Casey Allen joined us pretty quick on and doing back end like podcast stuff. He originally started doing some like setting up us up with some Kickstarter people that he knew from the Comic Jam. He did some like listening through timestamp stuff for us back in the way beginning. Then he came on to actually do some interviews with us. So really up until like August of 2019, the quote unquote spoiler country team was essentially Kenric, myself, Jay on the website, and then Casey doing some interviews. And then all hell broke loose after we decided let's open it up some more. And Jeff came on to do as public relations with us. We had been talking off and on for years with Deej Penhalo from Nerdtaculips and Robert Savinsky from Bridging the Geekdoms.
Let me break in here real quick.
Sure.
Nerdtaculips and Deej Penhalo is super important to the history of Spoiler Country.
It is.
Because John reached out to them, and Deej really helped him understand how to title shows, how to look at SEO, how to do some things that allowed us to move forward besides just, we'd get excited when we'd have 5 listens in a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, seriously. And like, we were like looking for that first one to hit 20. And then it was, 3 or 4 months after we started, we still hadn't had one to hit 100.
Yeah.
We were like, who's going to hit 100 first? 100 downloads.
Right.
And we were so excited. And Deej really coached John on how to do certain things on the back end. He was super instrumental.
It was in the early days for sure. Yeah. And then Deej and I became friends, and I became friends with Robert through Deej because they all know each other. And, fast forward to, August of 2019, for various reasons. I don't know, because I wasn't a part of it. Nerdtaculips had kind of like stopped posting. Bridging the Geekdoms had also stopped posting. They'd both been on longer than we had. They both started like about a year before us, but they had like kind of ran their course as far as like the, Deej and Robert and Lane on the Nerdtaculips side, and Colton on the Bridging the Geekdoms side. They just kind of like life had happened, and they'd pretty much stopped working on their podcast. And probably about 8 months before we really brought everybody into the Spoilerverse, and even the Spoilerverse was a thing, Deej and Robert were talking about making the Nerdtaculips podcast network. And that was like the first time the second time we ever talked about network, because there was a time that the three of us and Kaminsky talked about doing a network. We decided not to do that.
I was going to bring that up, but yeah, absolutely. So I would just assume that at some point that might have been like an early precursor.
Yeah, that was the first time we ever talked about doing a network. Was that meeting we had. But I talked with Deej and Robert had started the Nerdtaculips network back like 8 months before Spoiler Country or Spoilerverse came a thing, and they had asked me to come in and say, hey, do you want to be a part of this? And at the time, I was talking to Kenric about it. I was like, man, I don't really want to run a network. That seems like a lot of work. This is already a ton of work, and we're not making money off this because we're just doing it for fun. And I didn't really want to be involved in that. I told them back then, I was like,
you did a show. I
did a show. Yeah. I said, hey, I can do a half an hour one-off show of just myself talking, which is, at the time I called it R3 with JH. I've since renamed it to Y2CR Radio, taking over my old show name back to just me talking. But I did it because I could record it in my car or wherever I was at, record 30 minutes of me talking about some topic, and it was whatever. And I said, hey, if you want it, I'll give it to you, and you can do whatever you want with it. So they said, cool. And they took it. And I was like, but I helped them out with like some graphic stuff and some other stuff. But then, life happened, and that fell apart or fell in the back burner. And then we started doing it. And one of the first things I did, and talking to Kenric about it, when we're like, is this becoming a network? This is kind of becoming like a podcast centric, like having more than one podcast on the website, was I reached out to Robert. I was like, hey, you have a really good Star Wars podcast. Let's bring that Star Wars podcast over here. Let's bring your Shooting Assist show over to the Spoilerverse. And he's like,
scpod.net. We weren't even really calling it Spoilerverse.
Right. It was scpod.net.
Actually, we weren't calling it Spoilerverse yet.
No, we weren't.
That's a cool story too.
Yeah. So I told him that, and he was like, yeah. So basically he relaunched his show, Shooting the Sith, with us. And he was the first show that wasn't one of our shows to come onto the website and scpod. And, he came on like gangbusters. We were a little worried about what he was going to do at first. He didn't really know, but I've been talking to him for a couple of years. He came on and took over Star Wars content. He brought on the podcast, And then Colton, his co-host from Bridge and the Geekdom, was like, hey, I want in on this. And he came on and started doing video game content and doing press releases for us. And then through that, go ahead. Sorry. I was like, well, through that, then I reached out to Deej. I was like, hey, Deej, we're doing this stuff. You and Lane should join us too. And then I talked to Deej for a little bit, and then I ended up calling Deej and Lane on a group call and like explaining to him, look, we're not really doing a network. This is what we're doing at SE Pod. We're releasing shows through us. We're having a big archive. We're using kind of all this stuff to better everybody and kind of have fun with it. And they're like, yeah, we're all in. So then Nerd Talklips came into it with Deej, and then Deej had last year he did a show called A Cup of Cheer, which is a holiday themed show that runs every year over Thanksgiving and Christmas, which is all about the holidays. He brought that into us. And then, that was kind of what it was for a little while. And then I think it was Eli in our chat room who coined the Spoilerverse phrase, right?
I was going to give Eli a shout out for that, but I specifically remember that when he brought up that, hashtag Spoilerverse, and everybody was like, fuck, that's it.
That's it.
That was pretty crazy. So
it was kind of funny too, because we kind of dropped off on our social media stuff. Johnny was doing this whole thing with Twitter, trying to build up our Twitter following and trying to get it engaging. And then I started just posting articles, just random articles on our Facebook page, and it took off. And then Robert came on and he says, I'm going to take these articles and he's going to rewrite articles. You know what I mean? He's going to use the sources of the stuff that we're finding and then resource them and, write them in his own words and then put them back out. So they're coming from scpod.net. That changed everything. And then Eli saying Spoilerverse changed everything again. And then everything changed again when we found Castos and Simply Podcasting on the WordPress site. That allowed us to have people, any podcast that wants to join the Spoilerverse can come in and all their cost of hosting goes away. Yeah. It literally costs them nothing.
That's a pretty enticing incentive, I think, for a lot of people, because I think, just like musicians, podcasters do this, and it's definitely a grind, and, you're not really doing it for the financial reward of it. And in fact, you pay money for hosting, you pay money for web services, you pay money for any number of things. So the fact that you guys are able to kind of bring other people on and let them drop that hosting fee it's awesome. Super cool.
They can keep it, because I can understand the enticement of staying on a Podbean or staying on a Libsyn, and you've been there a long time and all your stats are there, and it can be scary to move everything. But John and I are old because I'll get hairs, just wild hair to go and try to find something better than how we're doing it. And I think I got us on like 4 different platforms, right? Which always ends up being a ton of work for Johnny.
It's always more work. Because I do all the transfers. Yeah.
He's like, God damn it. Every time he probably like swears at me every time he sees an IM coming in. It says, hey, I have an idea. Oh God, what is it now?
Like, what do I have to do now? What more work am I going to do tonight?
But everything that we've done and everything, and it's not just me. I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea, but everything that we've done has been for the betterment of the podcast, and now it's been a betterment for the Spoilerverse, and it seems to make a big difference.
Yeah, and what's cool too about, like, not to toot our own horn, but I'm going to toot that horn a little bit real quick, is not only like the shows that have come on, like Nerd Talk Clips might be coming back. Bridging the Geekdom is coming. Like, Robert and Colton are doing it again. Colton's got a new show called Polygon Warriors he's doing. Like, everybody's getting energized by the energy of Kenric and I doing this, which I think is fantastic. Even if anybody can take away from what we're doing the energy to go create stuff on their own, then I think it's a job well done for us. But beyond just having the ability to come on, people we've chosen to bring in the Spoilerverse with us, having their hosting covered by us, and it would just handle all that stuff too. It's inadvertently they also have access to. Kenric and I have been kind of working with everybody on the show to share our ideas and share our knowledge of what we've learned in the last 3 years, as well as I do a lot of graphics for everybody, so I help everybody with their graphics and make them look a little bit better that I can. I'm not going to say that I'm the best at it, but I think I do okay. And ideas on how to speak better, get better speak patterns, and less ums and uhs. So it's like we all work together to make everybody better, and it's become this great thing where it's like, man, not only am I doing this awesome podcast with Kenric and the shows that I do with my wife, but I'm also involved in all these other great shows where I feel like people actually value my opinion, which is huge.
Yeah. And we're here to help everybody too, like editing, understanding the different tools for editing. Like, you know, it's a simple thing of like Levelator, right? It's a free tool. It's 10 years old. They don't even make it anymore, but it still works really, really well. And if you just use it on your dialogue, not your music, just your dialogue, it's going to up all your levels and make everything sound so much better.
Yeah.
That people can actually hear what you're saying. And then on top of that, you have RX by Isotope.
Mm-hmm.
So cleaning up all your, you know all this stuff, cleaning all your audio up, cleaning out your clips, your clicks, your hums, denoising your voices, all that kind of fun stuff. And it's just, everything starts to get elevated. And then once you're coming out with a really good product and your content is high level and your sound is high level, then you really, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's funny you mentioned that. I'm a big fan of the RX. The Isotope stuff is super good. That's what I run through. And, you know, I go back and I listen to like old episodes for nostalgia's sake, just to kind of see, you know, where you are, you know, where you're at now versus, you know, how you started out. It's been a pretty crazy epic journey for sure. But you guys just constantly blow my mind with the directions that you go in, all the stuff that you take on. You know, Johnny, just not only do you run all the web stuff and get all the technical side of things, but you're running multiple podcasts, and you're just constantly building and building and building and building. And it just blows my fucking mind, because when I tell myself that I can't get, you know, one thing out a week, and then I go, you motherfuckers got 4 episodes coming out this week for the next 7 months straight. You know, it just,
that's just one show.
I can't even,
that's just one show.
Can't even wrap my head around that. It's just absolutely insane. And then on top of that, you still have time somehow to go out and, you know, do the research on your topics and watch the movies and read the comics and check out the shows. I mean, I don't know what your day looks like if you start at like 3 o'clock in the morning and stop at 2 o'clock in the morning and you get 1 hour of sleep. I don't know, but that's what I envision you guys doing.
It's a lot of multitasking.
Yeah. It's a
you
lot of
know,
multitasking.
the only time I focus is when I'm hanging out with Ella, you know, then I focus just on her. You know, we play catch, we hang out, we go for walks, we ride bikes, whatever it is. And, you know, eating dinner and stuff like that. And then other than that, I'm either, you know, we both have our full-time day jobs. So we got to do that because that's what pays the bills, because no one's getting paid right now.
I wish we were, though. Oh, my God.
Yeah. As much work as, and I think that's one of the things why we put so much into this, because I just love this, you know? I feel like I'm actually being creative and being a part of something. And now with all these people being involved, it really does make you feel like you're a part of something bigger than just yourself.
Well, and there's also an element of responsibility now at this point with a project that started that affects so many other people that I can imagine there's probably some added pressure with that as well, though.
There is, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It seems easier with the pressure to me.
I work well under pressure. Like if I have in my day job for my work, right? If I have like, do a couple things today and whatever, it's hard for me to do. But if it's like, oh my God, the CEO is going to be seeing this today in 30 minutes, we have to get this shit done right now, I will get it done. It'll be the best thing I've ever done in my life, because the pressure will just make me work incredibly better. And it's always been that way. So in my day job at work, I overload myself with work because I know if I have too much to do, I'm going to get more done. It's going to be more efficient. It's going to come out as a better end product for work. So I do the same thing with my creative life too. So I always make sure, if it was just, I don't know, my wife always tells me that I take on too much shit, and Kenric does too. But it's like, if I don't have something that I'm failing at in the background, I won't have things that I'm succeeding in the foreground.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned, you know, that you thrive on that pressure to get shit done. Well, if that's the case, what the fuck is up with the Ions Anthology? Where the hell is that motherfucker at?
I knew.
So that was actually done. I'm going to defend Johnny on this one. He's been done. He's had the book 1 is done. Book 1 was sent to the printers, ready to go, and then COVID happened.
It's fucking seriously. So it's done. It's ready.
Yeah, the book's done.
Yeah.
I can send you a digital copy to read it if you want to. It's done. But first thing that happened is the printer that I first had went out of business and didn't tell me. So I'm sitting here working, getting all stuff, shooting them emails, and nothing. Then I had to spend like 3 or 4 months trying to find a new printer that could match the cost of some way that I was already quoted.
I found him in the printer.
Yeah, and then Kenric found me a printer, and then I get the book done and finalized, and I go to send it off, and they're like, "Hey, by the way, shipments are delayed forever because of this." And I'm like, so since then I just have it. I owe an update out to everybody who's backed it. I'm actually gonna send out the digital copy now to everybody.
Because it's been about a year, right?
It's been a year, yeah. It's been a year, but
yeah,
it's just a lot of work putting together a book with 22 people, and it is done, and book 2 is halfway done. I need to get online and shoot the email out and send the link out to everybody to get their digital copy. And then as soon as the printers open back up, it'll be off to the printer. We'll have it, and it'll be shipping it out to everybody out there.
And for those of you that aren't familiar with the Irons Anthology, if you haven't listened to some of the episodes that I've talked about this with, it's a multi-generational horror story that encompasses a family over a huge expanse of time and space.
1,000 years.
Yeah, 1,000 years, slowly digested in the pit of Carcoon over 1,000 years. And so it kind of gave everybody the quick elevator pitch for the Irons Anthology.
So the Irons Anthology is, the quick elevator pitch of that is, it involves the family called with the surname of Irons throughout a 1,000-year period of dealing with the supernatural and the monsters of the world, so things that go bump in the night. And the story revolves around the characters within the family, but they're not necessarily monster stories, or they're not necessarily good and evil stories, because anyone in the time frame could have been good or evil, and the whole family is not good. The whole family is not evil. They could be the monsters. They could be the heroes. They could be, they could not care about the whole thing and just be a background character. But the whole story as a whole, which is 4 books long, tells one overarching story with, some recurring characters, and each individual book, which is, 1, 2, 3, 4, tells their own story. Each one of those broken up into about anywhere from 8 to 10 sub-stories that are placed throughout time. And there's certain themes and characters and elements that weave in and out of the stories. And it's told by myself and a bunch of, Kenric wrote a story, and I have a bunch of other writers in there that have written stories and drawn stories with me. And it's all based upon this overarching story that starts and basically...
We released my story.
What's that?
We released my story.
Yeah, your story was released as a Christmas story
over the holidays.
Yeah, over the holidays.
Yeah.
And it's really good. And but it tells a story for 1,000 years, and then it goes. It's not like 1,000 years from today back. It goes into the future. So there's some stories that take place 20, 30, 100 years in the future, and kind of tell like that monster story into the sci-fi world, because we go forward in time too. And it's gonna be cool. I had the first issue or the first book read by a couple of people that I don't know, and the reader response back from it so far has been pretty positive.
Yeah, I've been very excited about this project for a long time. I was just giving you shit. I kind of knew it had been delayed by the printer, but I think that the concept is epic. I'm glad to see that it's not dead. It's just kind of in limbo, waiting for the printing madness to be squared away. But I did want to ask you though about one element of that, which is you had talked about having like a soundtrack for this project. Is that still going to happen?
It is happening. Yep. So the first book has a soundtrack. There is a song that correlates to every single story. Some of the bands that contributed songs are people you sent my way, which is awesome. They sent some great songs over. And so the first 10 stories all have songs that correlate to them. And then we're still working on the songs for book 2 and book 3. But yeah, there's going to be a soundtrack for all 4 books. So there'll be a total of, however many stories end up taking place in all 4 books. There'll be one song that represents kind of like the feel of that story.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. It's totally different, I think, when you think about comics and music. And sometimes when you read, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when I read a book or a comic or something, in my head, I will hear music that I think would go with it because I'm a musician. And so my brain automatically gears towards what is the soundtrack for what I'm reading. So I'm really interested to see how that physically comes into play. And I'm really stoked that you're able to use some of the folks that I sent your way. So, and, honestly, I'm super stoked that Kenric became a part of the project as well. So, and I assume that we're going to see this on the Spoilerverse when it actually is ready to hit.
Oh yeah, it'll take over the Spoilerverse when it hits.
Yeah.
And we have a new project. I don't know if you listen to this particular episode. It's called Writer of the Old West, and we've actually shortened it to just Writer of the West. But the podcast episode is called Writer of the Old West, and we talk about a new project, a new comic book that we're working on together. And this will be the first one that Johnny and I really, really are working on together. And you can go there and you can listen to the whole concept of and what you're listening to is us coming up with the concept on the fly.
Awesome.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And now we've kind of talked about a little bit of stuff on the background, and we're going to have another episode to move it along. And we're going to try to plan out as much of the book without giving certain twists and plots away on the podcast. So as we're building it, people can follow along with us.
That's a fucking really cool interactive concept. But I would be not doing my job if I didn't twist your arm just a little bit and say, give us a teaser then. What exactly is this project about? Give us a little something that the listeners can take back with them.
Yeah. Well, it's I'll give you everything that we've already talked about.
Yeah.
So the whole concept is we're both huge Jonah Hex fans.
Okay.
Right? Supernatural, Old West. It's just in the bag.
So good.
It's a lot of fun. And we're like, God, there's just isn't enough in that world, And we wanted something that was just a fun read. But then we started getting into, okay, how do we, what is something that is unique? And we started going back and forth. And it was like, what if it's a boy and his horse, And it's almost like Kung Fu, where the boy is traveling from town to town on his horse. And then it became, well, what if the horse is actually a deity of some sort or a demon? And the horse can mentally speak with the boy, and the boy's course of action the horse has been taking care of the boy since he was like 3, because a massacre happens and he loses his whole family, and this horse finds him. And then it goes, okay, well, what if we make it more like a Native American girl? And there's more of an and when I say intimate, I don't mean a sexual relationship, but like an intimate relationship of more of a deeper meaning, a deeper feeling towards the girl and this horse. And then what if the horse is manipulating her in some way to find certain things out in space and time?
So it's constantly evolving.
So it's constantly, the story is constantly evolving at this point. Then it became, okay, so what if the horse is searching for a particular soul? And that this girl is the reincarnation of the soul that this horse has always been looking for.
And that gives the ability to do flashbacks to like other souls that has happened with, and opens up the storytelling aspect of being able to tell, this horse has been at this for a while.
Yeah. And then you don't know while we're going on in the we don't know if it's going to be a graphic novel or a mini series or what. I think we're kind of leaning towards more of a graphic novel at this point.
Yeah.
But, you don't know if the horse is good, evil, or indifferent. We just know that it had and we're just saying horse because that's the physical embodiment of what you're seeing now.
The manifestation.
The manifestation. Yeah. And then when we get off air, I'll tell you what we've talked about, where that might have came from.
Yeah, the whole story is going to be it's super epic. We have a OneNote with notes on that I took, because when I edited the episode down, I took all the notes, all the good stuff we talked about, made it out there. We've talked about it multiple times since then, and we are definitely due to do a follow-up episode to go into more detail. And it's probably something that's not really going to take full form more until 2021 to next year. But it's going to be fucking epic.
It's not going to take place in Enumclaw, is it? Because we all know what happened in Enumclaw with horses. And,
there will be no Mr. Hands in the story, I promise you.
Right. No perforated anus.
Oh, right. Wah, wah. Sorry, Enumclaw, but you are now forever known for that.
Right?
Yeah. So
it's weird it was on the books as being against the law.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And really, that was only like barely 20 years ago, right?
It was less than that.
It was 2000, early 2000s. I was out of high school when it happened.
Oh, man.
So weird.
Yeah, that's just crazy. I don't know. The whole situation was nuts. For those of you that want to know what I'm talking about, there was a bestiality farm in Enumclaw, and this dude died because he let a horse fuck him in the ass, and it perforated his colon, and then some dude dropped him off at the hospital and fucking took off, and it was a whole big mess. And after the dude died, that's when they said, maybe we should make this illegal.
Yeah.
So it's technically, it wasn't illegal up until this dude died from having his colon perforated by a horse in Washington State.
But
there you go.
Really, you shouldn't have to say it's illegal. You just should. I mean, that's common sense to say don't fuck a horse.
Just don't fucking do it. Yeah. But that's not what your comic is about.
No. It's not at all.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to read it now.
Yeah, sorry. I get it. I get it. You know.
Yeah, well, you know, it is what it is.
And you're gonna love it.
So that's the next thing coming out from you guys in terms of the Spoilerverse. But what can we expect to see from some of the people in the Spoilerverse coming out here sometime soon?
Well, you have the Sarah Kay files. So if you like the strange, the unusual, the paranormal, she goes in and finds unique stories and does a deep dive on those stories, and then writes a whole article about them, and they're wonderful. And I would suggest going in there. Like I said with Jay Roach, he's like the second coming of American Splendor when you go through all of his daily life stuff. I mean, he had a nice article about his lunch he had. And then for some reason, he keeps trying to tell people to send me dick pics.
All the time. Like every post ends
all
with
the time. But I haven't gotten any, so I don't know what's up with these guys.
It's gonna happen soon, though. Soon.
You just got
happen.
a bunch
Yeah.
of J's.
Exactly. Polygon Warriors is going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be our video game show where lots of content coming out on new video games, consoles. The first episode drops here Sunday.
Yeah,
I think it is.
The pilot episode will drop on the Spoiler Country feed with us talking to Colton about it prior to the show airing, and then we play about the first 35-40 minutes of the first episode,
Yeah.
and then launching probably a week or two later will be its actual show in its own feed with Colton.
Yeah, and they're
being
talking
on.
about and that first episode is going to talk about the 8th generation of consoles.
Yeah,
Oh.
So that's a show that Mike should probably jump on, because being that he stopped for games for quite a few years.
I did stop for games for quite a few years. I would love to take part in that conversation because I've got some pretty strong opinions that I want to interject. But of course, there's a lot of factual information and just some cool stuff that people want to know what's going on. I've got my eyes peeled pretty tight on what's coming out with this gen. So
We should definitely, I think you get along with those guys too.
yeah.
And then, of course, Shooting the Sith with Robert Slavinsky. That's all your Star Wars news.
yeah.
And he comes out with, not only does he have the podcast, but he writes articles all the time, all around. If it says Star Wars on that article or has nothing to do with Star Wars, it's probably from Robert Slavinsky. And, anytime there's new products or new projects or new news coming out, then he'll produce a podcast episode to talk about.
And an exclusive
And so that's a lot
drop
of fun.
there. I myself am going to be a guest on Mr. Slavinsky's podcast here in the next couple days. So,
Nice.
yeah,
awesome.
I'm going to go chat with him about all things Star Wars. And it'll be really cool because I'm kind of that old school fan and not really caught up on too much of the new stuff. Like I'm that one guy that hasn't seen Mandalorian yet because I don't have fucking Disney Plus because I fucking hate Disney.
Such a good one.
But there again, I'm watching Star Wars, which is Disney, so I don't know where to go with that. But yes, shooting
The
the
Mandalorian's awesome.
yeah, shooting the Sith. I'm really looking forward to that. So what else we got going on?
We got Bridging the Geekdom, where Slavinsky and Colton Bird are bringing back their old show. And it's going to be a lot of fun, where they're truly trying to bridge all of those geek projects, geeky things that we all love within pop culture.
Oh, super awesome. I don't know, guys. I'm super excited about everything to do with what you've put together.
There's more.
There is more.
There's a lot more.
We can't get into it all today. It'd be
Well, one of the best shows on the network, though, is a music show.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
it is.
Hosted by the great Mike Peacock, and that's Misery Point Radio.
Misery Point Radio. And I know that a lot of people are like, why are you on a network with a bunch of comic book and kind of pop culture-y stuff? I think it's super awesome. It adds an air of diversity to the content.
Well, one of the things that we want to do is we don't want to limit who can have a show within the Spoilerverse.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to revolve around pop culture. It does not have to be even slightly geeky. It can be nerdy.
Yeah.
But honestly, if someone has a news show and they want us to help them promote that, hey, that'd be great. We don't really want to lean towards any one political section.
Sure.
Because we want people to come to Spoilerverse and not have those reservations.
You want it to be
or-
entertaining. You don't want to get people all
Yeah.
fucking riled up.
Yeah, but if you're a comedian and you want to come on and have, you got an idea for a show, we entertain all of that kind of stuff. We're not here to pick and choose and be elitist in any stretch of the imagination.
Oh yeah, no, it's this. I'd say what this Spoilerverse is fucking cool, and all the stuff that you guys are doing is awesome. I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited to be able to share more stuff with you guys this year as I'm finally on a weekly schedule, releasing weekly now, which I've been striving to do for a couple of years. So I got a lot of cool people getting lined up to come on as well. So there'll be a lot of cool guests that fans of music will get to hear, as well as some other kind of artistic guests coming down the road as well. So there's a lot of cool things happening as well for me.
That's cool. I love your show, Mike. I just want to tell you that I love Misery Print Radio. It's always such a good time.
Yeah, it's a great show.
Oh,
I miss On the Edge too.
Yeah, you know, On the Edge, it kind of went a direction, and I finally I didn't know where to go with it. But you know, here's something funny. About 2 months ago, I recorded 2 episodes, and I said, I'm just going to sneak them in. Just fucking publish them, not tell anybody about it, not advertise it, not do any posting about it, and just see if anybody still notices it. And then I just forgot to do it. so they're sitting there. And of course, now for those of you who are not familiar with On the Edge, it was a pretty not safe for work kind of a topic. I mean, it's pretty vulgar, F-bombs flying and crazy, you know, topics being talked about sometimes, and lots of rants from yours truly, which is what I became known for. And now that I work in the corporate environment and I do podcasts for clients, and I have to be really careful about what I say, so I'm kind of torn between releasing it and knowing for a fact that a lot of these potential clients are Googling my name to find out what I'm all about. And which is a thing that people do, and unfortunately, I've been Googled.
You should change the name of the show to On the Edge with Pike Meacock.
Yeah, exactly. I just changed the name of it. So yeah,
Pike Meacock.
So I don't know. I'm not going to say that On the Edge is dead. It's been in slumber.
It's on hiatus.
It's been on hiatus. Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. It's got basically one plug left in it, but I don't know. At some point, I'll sneak it in. I'll bring it back. There is content that's recorded. There is stuff that I could put out, and I guess I'm just waiting for that cosmic moment where somebody says, "Just press the button, dude. Just make it happen." And so it'll happen at some point. But how's that for a tangent of tangents?
I like it.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. You know, those are their most requested episodes.
You haven't done one in a while.
Actually,
we did one
actually,
we
Mr.
just did one.
Peacock, we recorded one and it comes out in a few weeks.
What?
Yep.
And it's a doozy. It's a good one.
The problem is that we tried doing 2 tangents before that one, and we kept sticking on one subject.
Yeah,
and that's not a tangent. And so because I'd ask a question, and then before we realized, we're like, we didn't talk about anything else.
Yeah. That's how Rider of the West came. That was supposed to be a tangent episode, and it failed as being a tangent.
Yeah.
Well, I could be wrong. I've heard a rumor. You can confirm or deny it. And if you deny it, then I will edit this part out. Is there a big piece of news that you want to drop today?
Well, I think so, but I'm going to have Kenric check his Facebook to see if he wants to drop it as well. So check your Facebook message, Kenric, and see if you want to drop this show news.
This is a live in development right now as we speak.
It's happening.
Waiting.
Oh, yeah. Hard agree.
Hard agree. Yes, let's hard agree to announce this. Kenric, why don't you go ahead and do the honors?
Exclusive drop, Misery Point Radio from John and Kenric from the SpoilerVerse. What's going on?
So the SpoilerVerse is proud to announce the inclusion of one Mr. Andrew Sumner as his own show is launching soon called Hard Agree.
Fuck.
Now, those of you out there who don't know who Mr. Sumner is or who Andrew Sumner is or Sumner, whichever name
I
you
have
want to call
goosebumps, just so you know. Like, I literally, like, the hairs are standing up. That's exciting as hell.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
it is
crazy.
Exciting. Andrew
Okay,
Sumner
so anyways,
is,
I interrupted
Andrew
you.
Sumner
Go
is
ahead.
a man to be reckoned with. He is
currently
he's the EVP of Titan Merchandising over in London. If you just look at his Wikipedia page or his IMDb page, you'll see all the stuff he's done. He's been the publisher for different men's magazines, publisher for different book houses. He works with licensing deals. He's had a TV show on TMC. He's worked in
was it Rock and Roll Magazine out of the UK?
Yep, he worked for Speakeasy, Enemy, Vox, Total Film, Uncut, all these great things.
Hosted his own TV show.
He's been on your show like 400 times.
Exactly. He's a friend of the show. He's a friend of ours. He's a close friend of Kenric's and I's. Sometimes we get on Zoom and just talk and hang out because he's in London and we're here. But he came to us after all these shows we did with him. He's like, hey guys, I got an idea and I want to do it with you guys. And we were so excited to be working with Sumner on this. And it's called Hard Agree with Sumner. It's launching. The first episode will be later this year. I won't tell you on air what the first episode's about, but I'll tell you off air what it's about and you'll be excited.
Oh, see, I get to hear it and you motherfuckers don't.
Yep.
We met Sumner at a San Diego Comic-Con in 2017. He told us we got lucky because we had 2 episodes and the owner of Mill Creek said, hey, I have tickets. I'll be love to sponsor you guys to San Diego Comic-Con. I won't pay for you guys to go down there, but I'll give you the tickets to get in. I'll give you tickets for the store luncheon.
Retail luncheon, Diamond Retail Luncheon. Yeah,
the retail luncheon, the Diamond Retail Luncheon. And I'll give you the tickets for the Image dinner. And we're like, yeah, okay. So we go and we get into we get into San Diego Comic-Con. We get to the retail luncheon, which is hosted by Diamond. Diamond is the big comic book distributor. So all your comic book stores go through Diamond to get their books to their store, right? And so they host this huge luncheon at San Diego Comic-Con, and Marvel comes up and DC comes up and all these different publishers come up and talk to you about why you need to buy more of their stuff.
Sure. Right.
Andrew gets up, and he works for Titan, which is out of London, and they do a lot of Doctor Who, and they do a lot of other comic books. They do a lot of licensing. They do Mike Hammer, which is awesome. And Andrew is the executive VP of merchandise. So all your T-shirts, all those little vinyl pop figures that they have. Not the pop figures, because they do vinyl figures, but kind of in the same vein.
Blind box figures and stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, so he does stuff like that. But he tells this wonderful story. He was the best presenter of this hour-and-a-half luncheon.
It was the best.
And he tells this wonderful story of singing Wonder Woman on the plane, getting other people to sing with him. It was hilarious. And so Johnny's like, we got to talk to this guy. So we went to their booth in the main floor, and he's like, oh, yeah, we just told him how much we really loved his story, loved what he was going on. And he's like, oh, thanks, gents. And we just started talking. And then we're like, well, do you mind us interviewing right now for, 10 minutes? He's like, sure. And we started talking. And then we went back and forth. We gave each other our contact information. And then when he came to Seattle, he reached out. And man, we sat down and we found this old bar and
the old pub. I remember the pictures. Yeah.
The Pioneer Saloon.
Yeah.
Pioneer Saloon was.
Yep. Yeah, Pioneer Saloon, which is like 100 years old.
It was awesome.
And
kind of like me.
It was dirt road. When they opened up in front of them, it was all dirt road still. And, from there, we just kept talking with them, and we just loved hanging out with them. And he became a mentor, like legit mentor, because he's gone through so many different businesses and all the different things and publications and having his own TV show on Turner Classic Movies and doing all this stuff. We're just like, how can we not? And so every time he comes to town, he calls us up and we go and we have drinks and we do a show and, we record a podcast. And man, when he said, I want to do this with you guys, I've been working with you guys now for a couple of years. I know how professional you guys are. I know the type of stuff you guys put out. And every time I do a show with you guys, I get a lot of amazing feedback. He goes, I just want to do this. Yeah. And we're like, man, let's do it.
That's fucking awesome.
I'm so excited.
It's so awesome. And I got to correct your story there just a little bit, only because it's I think it's relevant to our relationship with Sumner. 2017 Comic-Con, we talked to him at the booth. We didn't actually record with him until 2018 because we went back to the realtor luncheon again. We're like, oh, it's the Titan guys again. We had talked to him at 2017, and then we talked to him again in 2018. He's like, oh, and he remembered us from the year before because we talked to him forever. And that's when we recorded with him, and he retold that story in 2018. And it was like after that Comic-Con in 2018, it was like gangbusters. We recorded with him again in Seattle, the Pioneer Club, like 2 weeks later or something like that. And then kept recording more and more with him. It was just awesome because we go back the next year and he remembered us, and it was like this should have been happening the whole time.
And is that him that does your this is spoiler country? Is that him?
No. So there's a new one. Yep. The old one was a guy out of Australia, one of Johnny's friends. He's a great guy. and he really, he did a great job on it. We just wanted something a little different because we've been using that one for a long time.
Right.
And so the new one we've only been using it for like a month is Andrew.
That's him. Okay, cool. So two different guys.
Yeah, he is the one that goes, "Citizens of Earth, I implore you," or whatever he says. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, guys, that is fantastic news. That's really exciting. Congratulations on that. I look forward to hearing more about that show coming out. Definitely look forward to seeing more about your upcoming Not Enumclaw Horse Sex comic project, and also whatever else you guys got coming on. Tell everybody out there in podcast land, where can they find you on social media? How do they get in touch with you? How do they check out what you're all about?
Okay, so I'll go first. So if you want to find me specifically, just search for Y2CL anywhere on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever. That's where you'll find me is Y2CL. If you want to find the podcast Spoiler Country, just on Instagram, it's just at Spoiler Country. On Twitter, it's at Spoiler_Country. And on Facebook, it's just search for the Spoiler Country, the page there. If you want to do Spoilerverse, just do at Spoilerverse on any of the platforms, and you'll find the whole Spoilerverse as a whole there. And you can go to SpoilerVerse.com, which will have our podcast, Mike's podcast, all the other podcasts we talked about, and more coming out seemingly like every couple of days. We seem to have someone wanting to do a new show with us.
Yeah, we have the Gunslingers.
Yeah, we have Narrative Gunslingers with Travis Webb and Greg Smith that has launched, and we've got 2 or 3 more that are in the works about launching on our network here in the next month or so. So it's exciting times right now.
Yeah, and if you want to get a hold of me, I keep my Facebook locked down, so I don't go that way. But if you want to get on me on Twitter, I'm just at X Kenric X, so X Kenric X.
And
awesome.
He doesn't use Instagram, so don't try there.
I'm too old for Instagram. I don't get it. I was like, I don't want to post a fucking picture.
Yeah. Well, nobody wants to look at you anyway.
Oh,
exactly.
I heart you. I heart you.
Yeah.
So, guys, this has been
right.
absolutely awesome. I'm super excited to be a part of this whole project with you, and genuinely excited for everything that's getting ready to hit the market. So, guys, check out the Spoilerverse. Check them out on the Book of Faces, but check them out on. Are we still on scpod.net for now, or are we going spoilerverse.com?
scpod.net, or you can do spoilerverse.com. Either one will work.
Hop on that website, check out all the cool shows that are on there, read all the super badass articles, reach out to all the artists and writers, and I promise you that you'll get responses. They're very interactive. They're very appreciative for the engagement. Yeah, leave the comments, and who knows, maybe one of your comments will show up on a page somewhere. So guys, thank you so much, and we'll be talking to you again real soon.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Man. Appreciate it.
And of course, thanks to all of you for sticking around for that conversation. It's really cool for me to be able to support those who support me, and honestly, just catch up with some old friends. Remember that Misery Point Radio is not just about the music. While that's a huge part of who I am and what we do here, it's really about sharing the awesomeness of all kinds of art and creativity. And right now, with all this mind-numbing craziness in the world, it's more important than ever to focus on the positive and enjoy those artistic endeavors. So check out Spoiler Country, subscribe to the show, and stop by spoilerverse.com. And do me a favor, if you like what I'm doing, please follow the show on all the social media sites, the Book of Faces, the Instagrams, the Tweety Place, and even on YouTube. Yes, there is a YouTube channel, and while I admit right now there's not much on there except for these static videos of the episodes themselves, coming soon this year, when the studio renovation is complete, we'll be doing live video interviews and awesome segments shot right there in the studio. So subscribe to the show now. That way, you'll be ready for the awesomeness when it hits. As always, thanks for hanging out with me in the wasteland, and I'll talk to you next week on Misery Point Radio.